The door rattled with a knock that echoed through my empty house, pulling me from the haze of another lonely afternoon. My heart skipped. Visitors were rare these days. I opened it, and there he stood, my son, looking older, sharper, with that same calculated smile I remembered all too well. "Mom," he said, his voice smooth as silk, "I need your help. Just a signature. It'll only take a second." His eyes flicked to the paper in his hand, avoiding mine. In that moment, the years of silence crashed over me like a wave, and I felt the old ache twist into something fiercer. If you've ever been tossed aside by someone you raised, only to have them crawl back when they need you, then you know that fire in your chest. Hit subscribe right now to join others who've turned betrayal into strength. Like this video if justice served cold gets your blood pumping, and drop a comment below. Have you ever said no when it mattered most? Stick around because this tale of neglect and payback is just getting started. I'm Alina, a woman who spent her life building a family from nothing, only to watch it crumble under the weight of one person's greed. But let's not linger on introductions yet. Let's go back to how it all unraveled, step by step, so you feel every sting as I did. It started small, those early signs I tried to ignore. My husband, Victor, and I had worked side by side for decades, scraping together a modest life. He was the dreamer, always talking about the little business we'd built, a cozy bookstore in our small town that grew into something more, with online sales and rare editions that drew collectors from afar. Victor handled the numbers, I managed the stories, curating books that touched hearts. Our son, Alex, was our pride, the boy who once helped stack shelves after school, laughing about the adventures in those pages. But as Alex grew, so did his ambitions. College came, and he distanced himself, chasing bigger dreams in the city. Calls home became sporadic, visits even rarer. Victor and I told ourselves it was normal. Kids spread their wings. Then Victor got sick. Cancer, the kind that sneaks up and steals everything fast. I nursed him through those grueling months, holding his hand as he whispered about the future. "Take care of the store, Alina," he'd say, "and Alex, he'll come around." The funeral was a blur. Alex showed up late, stayed for the service, then vanished again. No hugs, no shared tears, just a quick nod and gone. That's when the real hurt began. Weeks later, I discovered Victor had left everything to Alex in his will: the store, the house, even the savings we'd tucked away. I was stunned. Victor had always promised we'd share it all, but in his final days, Alex must have swayed him, whispering about expansion plans, about making the business modern. I was left with nothing but a small pension and the echo of betrayal. At first, I reached out, phone calls, messages. "Alex, let's talk. Your father would want us together." Silence. Months turned into years. I'd see updates on social media, him in fancy suits, posing with investors, turning our humble bookstore into a chain. He rebranded it, erased the cozy charm, made it sleek and impersonal. And me? Ignored. No birthday cards, no holiday visits. The town whispered about it, pity in their eyes when they'd see me walking alone. My chest would tighten, breaths shallow as I'd lie awake replaying every moment I sacrificed for him. Nights reading bedtime stories, scrimping for his education. The anger simmered, but I buried it, telling myself a mother doesn't hold grudges. Then came the breaking point. 5 years in, I hit rock bottom. Bills piled up. The pension barely covered rent for my tiny apartment. I swallowed my pride and drove to the city, showed up at his office unannounced. The receptionist eyed me like a stranger. "Do you have an appointment?" she asked. I waited 2 hours before he appeared, irritation etched on his face. "Mom, what are you doing here? I'm in a meeting." No warmth, no invitation inside. We talked in the lobby, me pleading for just a little help, him shifting uncomfortably. "Things are tight right now," he lied, glancing at his watch. "I'll send something soon." Nothing came. That drive home, tears blurred the road, my hands gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles whitened. I felt worthless, discarded like an old book no one wanted. In the quiet that followed, I stopped reaching out. The silence became my armor. I took odd jobs, tutoring, freelancing reviews for local papers, anything to survive. Friends urged me to fight legally, but what proof did I have? Victor's will was ironclad, influenced in his weakest moments. Instead, I observed from afar. I'd scroll through his posts, noting the lavish life, vacations, a new wife, a baby on the way. Each image fueled a quiet resolve. I wasn't broken. I was waiting. Little did Alex know, there was one thing Victor had left solely to me, a forgotten asset buried in paperwork. Years ago, we'd invested in a small plot of land on the outskirts of town, just in case for retirement. Victor put it in my name alone, a secret safety net. Over time, the area boomed. Developers eyed it for a massive project, but the deed required both our signatures for any sale, a clause Victor added to ensure family decisions stayed joint. Alex had inherited the business side, but this land, it tied us together, whether he liked it or not. The knocks on my door started subtly, real estate agents inquiring about the property. I brushed them off, but researched quietly. The value had skyrocketed. With the right deal, it could change everything. I kept it hidden, biding my time. Then, one day, the big offer came, not to me, but through channels that led back to Alex. He was partnering with developers to expand his chain, and that land was key. But without my signature, the deal stalled. That's when he showed up at my door, paper in hand, acting like no time had passed. "It's just a formality, Mom. Sign here and it'll benefit us both." His voice carried that false charm, but I saw the desperation in his eyes. The deal was worth millions. His empire hinged on it. My pulse raced, a mix of fury and anticipation. This was it, the moment I'd unknowingly prepared for. I invited him in, poured coffee with steady hands, though inside my mind whirled. We sat at the kitchen table, the document between us. He explained hurriedly the land's potential, how it'd fund his growing family, his business. "Dad would want this," he said, invoking Victor like a weapon. My throat tightened, memories flooding back, the ignored calls, the cold lobby dismissal. I picked up the pen, hovered it over the line, watching his face light up prematurely. But then I set it down. "No, Alex, I won't sign." His smile faltered, confusion turning to anger. "What? Why not? This is for the family." The irony burned. I leaned back, voice calm but edged. "What family? The one you forgot years ago?" The room grew heavy, his protests rising, but I held firm, the power shifting for the first time. As he stormed out, slamming the door, a strange peace settled over me. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. The revenge I'd never planned was unfolding, and it tasted sweeter than I imagined. The door slammed so hard the windows rattled, but I didn't flinch. Instead, I sat there at the kitchen table, staring at the unsigned paper he'd left behind in his rush. My coffee had gone cold, but my hands were steady now. For the first time in years, the weight on my chest felt lighter, not gone, but shifted. Alex thought he could storm in, flash a smile, drop the family guilt card, and walk out with what he needed. He was wrong. And that realization settled into my bones like warm sunlight after a long winter. I picked up the document and flipped through it slowly. Pages of legal language, clauses about development rights, zoning changes, projected values that made my eyes widen. One number jumped out. The land parcel alone was appraised at over $8 million in the current market. Developers were circling because a new highway extension would make it prime commercial space. Alex's chain of modern bookstores needed that spot for their flagship superstore, the crown jewel of his expansion. Without my signature, the whole project stalled. Contracts were already signed on his end. Penalties loomed if it fell through. I could almost hear the panic behind his calm facade when I said no. That night, sleep came in fragments, not from worry, but from a strange excitement humming under my skin. I kept replaying his face, the way his jaw tightened, how his voice cracked just a fraction when he realized I wasn't budging. "You're being unreasonable, Mom," he'd snapped. "This isn't just about you." The words echoed mockingly in my head. Not about me? After years of radio silence, after watching me struggle while he built his empire on his father's legacy, the hypocrisy stung fresh every time I thought about it. The next morning, my phone buzzed with the first text from him. "Mom, we need to talk. Seriously, call me." I let it sit unread for hours. Another one came at noon. "This is childish. Dad would be disappointed." That one made me pause. I stared at the screen until the words blurred. Victor, the man who'd worked himself to the bone for us, who'd believed in second chances even when they weren't deserved. Would he really be disappointed in me for protecting what was mine? Or would he be disappointed in the son who only remembered his mother when money was on the line? I didn't reply. Instead, I drove to the county records office. The clerk was kind, an older woman who remembered Victor from years back. She pulled up the deed without question. There it was, in black and white, the parcel listed solely under my name, Elena Marie Thompson, with the joint signature clause added by Victor himself. "Smart man, your husband," she said softly. "He wanted to make sure things stayed fair." I thanked her, photocopied everything, and left with copies tucked safely in my bag. Back home, I sat at the dining table, the same one where we used to eat Sunday dinners as a family, and spread the papers out. I started making calls, not to lawyers yet, first to a few trusted friends in town who'd watched the whole saga unfold from the sidelines. Mrs. Harper from the library who'd seen Alex grow up and then disappear, Mr. Delgado, the old accountant who'd handled our books before Victor passed. They listened without judgment. When I explained the land, the offer, Alex's sudden visit, their reactions were unanimous. "You hold that signature like gold, Elena. He doesn't get to rewrite the past just because he's in trouble now." Their support felt like armor. For so long, I'd carried this alone, convincing myself that fighting back would make me the villain. But hearing their voices, quiet, firm, angry on my behalf, shifted something inside. I wasn't being petty. I was finally drawing a line. The texts from Alex kept coming, each one sharper. "You're ruining everything I've built. This affects my wife and child too. Think about your grandson." That last one hit hardest. A grandson I'd never met. A baby boy, according to the photos his wife occasionally posted, the ones I still couldn't bring myself to unfollow. Part of me ached at the thought. Another generation growing up without knowing their grandmother. But the bigger part remembered how easily he'd erased me from his life. If family mattered so much now, where had it been when I was burying his father alone? I typed one reply, deleted it, typed again. Finally, I sent something short. "I've thought about it. The answer is still no." His response was instant. "You'll regret this." I set the phone face down and walked away. Days passed in tense quiet. Then the calls started from numbers I didn't recognize. Real estate agents, polite at first, offering generous terms if I'd reconsider. I listened to their voicemails, noted the increasing desperation in their tone. One even mentioned Alex by name. "Mr. Thompson has authorized us to negotiate directly with you. We can make this very worthwhile." I saved every message. Then came the visit I hadn't expected. Not Alex this time, his wife, Lauren. She showed up on a Saturday afternoon, perfectly dressed, hair styled, holding a small gift bag like we were old friends catching up. I opened the door, surprised but not shocked. "Elena," she said, voice soft and practiced, "may I come in, just for a minute?" I stepped aside. She sat on the edge of the couch, clutching the bag like a shield. "I know things have been complicated. Alex doesn't always handle emotions well. But this land, it's important for our future, for the baby. We're trying to build stability." I watched her carefully. She was beautiful, poised, everything I imagined Alex wanted in a partner. but her eyes darted, nervous. "He sent you," I said quietly, not a question. She hesitated, then nodded. "He's under a lot of pressure. The business, it's grown so fast, but the loans, the expansion costs, if this deal falls through, we could lose everything." I leaned forward. And when Victor was sick, when the medical bills piled up, where was Alex then? Her face flushed. "I wasn't around for that part, but I know he feels guilty. He just doesn't know how to say it." "Guilt doesn't sign documents, Lauren." She opened the gift bag, tiny baby clothes, soft blue onesies with little books printed on them. "We named him Victor, after his grandfather. Alex talks about him all the time, about how much he misses him, about how much he wishes things were different with you." My throat closed. The name hit like a punch. Victor, my Victor, the man who'd loved that boy with everything he had. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I blinked them back. "Tell Alex," I said, voice low, "that if he wants to honor his father, he can start by remembering the woman who stood beside him for 40 years, not just when it's convenient." Lauren's composure cracked. A single tear slipped down her cheek. "Please, just think about it, for the baby." I stood up. "I have thought about it. Every day for 5 years." She left the gift bag on the couch when she walked out. I didn't touch it. That night, I made the first real move. I called a real estate attorney I'd found through Mr. Delgado, someone known for handling family property disputes cleanly and quietly. We met the next week. I laid out everything: the deed, the clause, the ignored years, the sudden pressure. He listened, took notes, then looked up with a small smile. "Mrs. Thompson, you're in a very strong position. They can't move forward without you. And if they try to pressure you, harassment, undue influence, we can document it and file for protection." I exhaled slowly. For the first time, the future didn't feel like something happening to me. It felt like something I could shape. But the real satisfaction came later that evening. My phone lit up with a news alert. A local business journal had just published an article. "Thompson Book Empire Expansion Stalls Over Family Land Dispute." No names mentioned outright, but anyone in town knew exactly what it meant. Comments were already flooding in, some defending Alex's vision, others quietly siding with the forgotten mother. I didn't comment. I didn't need to. Alex would see it. He'd feel the eyes on him now, the whispers in boardrooms, the questions from investors. The empire he'd built on silence and selective memory was starting to crack, and I was just getting started. The article in the business journal was like a spark in dry grass, slow at first, but it spread. Whispers turned to open talk in town. Old customers who'd known Victor and me for years stopped me on the street, their faces a mix of sympathy and quiet approval. "About time someone stood up to that boy," one said, patting my arm. "You've got spine, Elena." I smiled politely, but inside, that validation wrapped around the hurt like a bandage. For years, I'd felt invisible. Now, the spotlight was shifting and Alex was squirming under it. My phone stayed busy, not just texts from Alex, now emails from his lawyers, formal requests couched in polite threats. "We urge you to reconsider for the sake of all parties involved." I forwarded them straight to my attorney, Mr. Reyes. He chuckled over the phone when we reviewed them. "They're bluffing, Elena. No legal ground to stand on. This is pressure tactics, nothing more." We mapped out a response. A simple letter stating my position, no room for negotiation unless certain conditions were met. What conditions? I hadn't decided yet, but the seed of a plan was taking root. That plan crystallized over the next few weeks. I spent evenings at the library, poring over real estate trends, development news. The land wasn't just valuable, it was pivotal. The highway project depended on it. Without full ownership rights cleared, funding could dry up. Alex's partners were big names, impatient types who hated delays. I imagined him in meetings, sweating under their scrutiny, explaining away the family hiccup. The thought brought a grim satisfaction, but I pushed for more. Revenge wasn't about petty jabs. It needed to feel earned, a mirror to the pain he'd caused. Then Lauren called. Not a visit this time, a late-night ring that jolted me from sleep. Her voice trembled on the line. "Elena, please. Alex is falling apart. He's not sleeping, snapping at everyone. The stress, it's affecting the baby. My doctor's worried." I sat up in bed, the room dark except for the glow of my phone. Part of me softened, the mother in me, always quick to nurture. But I remembered my own nights, wide-eyed in grief after Victor's death, alone, with no one to call. "I'm sorry you're caught in this," I said softly. "But Alex made his choices, years of them." She paused, then whispered, "He regrets it. He told me everything, how he pushed Victor to change the will, promised to take care of you later, but business got in the way." The confession hung there, raw and unexpected. Pushed Victor? In his final days, weak from treatments, Alex had manipulated him? My stomach twisted, fresh betrayal slicing through old scars. I'd suspected, but hearing it confirmed, my free hand clenched the sheets, nails digging into fabric. "Thank you for telling me," I managed, voice steady despite the storm inside. "Will you sign now, for peace?" "No, but tell Alex I want to meet, in person, alone." She agreed quickly, relief evident. We set a time, neutral ground, a coffee shop in town the following day. I hung up and paced the floor, anger fueling my steps. Manipulated his dying father, ignored his grieving mother, built his life on our ruins. The pieces clicked. This wasn't just about the land anymore. It was about accountability. The next morning, I prepared carefully, dressed in my best, simple but sharp, the necklace Victor gave me years ago glinting at my throat. I arrived early, chose a corner table with a view of the door. When Alex walked in, he looked different, haggard, suit rumpled, eyes shadowed. No calculated smile this time, just a man cornered. He sat down heavily. "Mom, thanks for meeting." I nodded. Waited. He launched in, apologies first, scripted ones about being young, ambitious, losing sight of family. Then excuses, business pressures, new responsibilities. Finally, the plea. "Sign the papers. I'll cut you in. 20% of the profits from the new store. It's fair." I sipped my coffee, let the silence stretch. His knee bounced under the table, fingers drumming. "No," I said at last. His face reddened. "Why? What more do you want?" I leaned in, voice low but clear. "The truth, Alex. All of it. Why did you cut me out? Why ignore me for years?" He shifted, glanced away. "It wasn't intentional. Life got busy." Busy or ashamed? Lauren told me about the will, how you convinced Dad when he was too sick to fight back. His eyes widened. "She what? That's not—" "Don't lie, not now." He deflated, shoulders slumping. The story spilled out in fragments. Jealousy of my bond with Victor, resentment over the small-town life, greed for full control. "I thought I'd make it right later," he muttered, "but then it was easier to not to." Easier. The word echoed. Easier to let me fade away. I absorbed it, the confession a balm and a burn. Then I laid out my terms, not for signing, but for consideration. First, an apology, public, in that same business journal. Admit what you did to the will, to me. His jaw dropped. "That would ruin my reputation, like you ruined mine." Second, half the land's value, not profits, up front. And third, time with my grandson, regular visits, no more erasure. He stared, calculating. "I can't do public. The rest, maybe. Then no deal." He stood abruptly, chair scraping. "Are you destroying us over pride?" "No, Alex, over justice." He left without another word. The fallout came swift. More articles surfaced, anonymous tips I suspected from townfolks who'd overheard bits. Headlines like "Family Feud Halts Major Development." Investors pulled back. I saw it in stock dips for his company. Lauren texted once, "He's sorry. Please reconsider." I didn't reply. In the quiet, I refined the plan with Mr. Reyes. We filed a motion, not to contest the will outright, too late for that, but to highlight undue influence, using Lauren's confession as leverage. It was a long shot, but enough to tie things up in court for months, bleeding Alex's resources. But the real move was quieter. I reached out to competing developers, ones Alex had edged out, offered them a deal, my signature for a partnership that cut him out entirely. They bit, eager for the prime spot. Weeks later, Alex called, voice broken. "Mom, stop this. I'll do the apology, private but sincere. And the money, 30%. I paused, let him hang. "Too late. I've signed with someone else." The line went silent, then a choked, "What?" "You needed my signature. Now someone else has it." It wasn't entirely true, not signed yet, but the bluff worked. He begged, promised changes, real family time. I hung up, heart pounding. The power was intoxicating, but so was the path to healing. Maybe, just maybe, this could end with mending, not breaking. But first, he had to feel the full weight. The silence after I hung up on Alex stretched like a taut wire, ready to snap. My heart hammered in my chest, a mix of triumph and trepidation. I'd bluffed about signing with competitors, not fully committed yet, but the words had landed like a blow. I could picture him on the other end, face paling, scrambling for a way out. Part of me wondered if I'd pushed too far, if this would shatter what little family tie remained. But the deeper part, the one scarred by years of neglect, whispered that it was necessary. He needed to break to rebuild. Hours later, my phone rang again. Not Alex, Mr. Reyes, my attorney. "Alina, we've got movement. His lawyers just reached out. They're requesting a mediation session. Urgent." I agreed, setting it for the next day. No more coffee shops, this time neutral territory in a conference room downtown. I arrived early, nerves buzzing, but composed. Alex was already there, flanked by 2 suits, his legal team, looking polished but tense. Lauren sat beside him, hand on his arm, her face drawn. My grandson wasn't with them. This was business, not a reunion. We sat across a long table, papers stacked like barriers. His lead attorney started, voice smooth. "Mrs. Thompson, we're here to resolve this amicably. Our client acknowledges past oversights and is prepared to offer compensation." Alex cut in, eyes locked on mine. "Mom, please, let's end this. I'll give you 40% upfront from the land sale, and visits every month with little Victor. I'll even add you to the company board, advisory role." The offers hung in the air, tempting. 40% could mean security, a home of my own again. Time with my grandson, holding him, hearing his laughs, tugged at my heartstrings. But I saw the calculation in Alex's gaze, the desperation masked as generosity. Mr. Reyes spoke up. "That's a start, but we need the public apology and proof of the will's manipulation. Affidavits, if necessary." Alex's face hardened. "Public? No, it'll tank investor confidence. I'm already losing partners over the articles." "Then we're at an impasse," I said quietly. The room erupted in back and forth, lawyers debating clauses, Alex pleading, Lauren wiping silent tears. I stayed calm, but inside memories flashed. Victor's frail hand signing papers under Alex's watchful eye, my empty mailbox on Mother's Day, the cold dismissal in his lobby. Each offer felt like a bandage over a wound heat inflicted, not healing, just covering. Finally, Alex stood, frustration boiling over. "This is extortion. You're enjoying this, aren't you? Holding power over me after all these years?" The accusation stung, but I met his eyes. "No, Alex, I'm teaching you what you never learned. Actions have consequences. You took everything from me. Now feel what that's like." He stormed out, lawyers trailing, Lauren lingering, whispering, "He's scared, Alina, of losing it all, like you did." Her words echoed as I left. Scared. Good. Fear might finally crack his armor. The climax came 2 days later. A knock at my door, Alex, alone. No papers, no entourage. Rain poured outside, soaking his coat. He looked smaller, defeated. "Can I come in?" he asked, voice raw. I nodded. We sat in the living room, the baby gift bag still untouched on the side table. He didn't waste time. I was wrong. About everything. Dad trusted me, and I twisted that. I convinced him you'd be fine, that I'd handle it. But I didn't. I got greedy, Mom. Built my world and left you out because facing you meant facing what I'd done. Tears welled in his eyes, real ones, not staged. My own vision blurred. "Why now?" I whispered. "Because it's crumbling. Investors bailing, deals collapsing. Lauren's talking about leaving if I don't fix this. And the baby, I don't want him growing up without knowing you." We talked for hours, raw, unfiltered. Apologies poured out, stories shared. He admitted the isolation he'd felt too, buried under ambition. I shared my pain, the loneliness that had hardened me. By dawn, we had terms, not just financial, but emotional. He'd issue a statement in the journal, not full confession, but acknowledgement of family oversights, committing to reconciliation. I'd get half the land proceeds plus shares in the business, and family, real, ongoing, starting with a visit that weekend. I signed the papers the next day, in Mr. Reyes's office. As the pen scratched across the line, a weight lifted. Not forgiveness overnight, but a start. The fallout rippled out. The article came. Thompson Heir addresses family rift, pledges unity. Stocks stabilized, partners returned. Town talk shifted from scandal to redemption. Friends called, proud. "You did it, Elena," made him see. But the true resolution was quieter. That Saturday, Alex and Lauren arrived with little Victor, a chubby toddler with Victor's eyes. I held him, feeling his tiny fingers wrap around mine. Alex watched, tentative smile. "Thanks, Mom, for giving me a chance." We spent the day talking, laughing even. It wasn't perfect, scars lingered, but it was progress. In the end, revenge wasn't about destruction, it was about balance, forcing the scales to tip back toward fairness. I didn't shatter his world, I shook it enough to wake him, and in that awakening, I found my own peace. If this story of turning neglect into renewal hit home, smash that like button and subscribe for more tales where justice finds its way. Comment below, what's the biggest family turnaround you've seen? Share this video with someone who needs to hear it, because sometimes a signature changes everything. The first visit with little Victor changed everything in ways I hadn't anticipated. It wasn't dramatic fireworks or tearful confessions in the rain. It was quieter, softer, almost ordinary. Alex pulled up in his sleek black SUV, Lauren in the passenger seat, cradling the toddler. When the car door opened and Victor toddled out, clutching a stuffed bear, my breath caught. Those eyes, Victor's eyes, looking up at me with innocent curiosity. "Gamma?" he said, the word wobbly but clear. I knelt down slowly, knees creaking from years of hard floors and harder days. "Yes, sweetheart, that's me." He reached out chubby arms and I lifted him, feeling the solid warmth of a child against my chest. The scent of baby shampoo and fresh laundry wrapped around me like a long-lost hug. For a moment, the past dissolved. There was only this small, trusting being who didn't know about wills, land deals, and 5 years of silence. We moved inside. Alex hovered near the doorway, hands in his pockets, unsure. Lauren busied herself unpacking toys from a bag, blocks, a picture book about trains. I set Victor down on the rug, and he immediately started stacking. I sat beside him, helping guide a wobbly tower. Every so often, I glanced at Alex. He watched us, expression unreadable at first, then softening into something vulnerable. Lauren broke the tension. "He loves books already. Alex reads to him every night." I nodded, throat tight. His grandfather would have loved that. Alex swallowed hard. "I tell him stories about Dad. About the old bookstore, the way it smelled like paper and coffee, about how you used to read him adventure tales when he was little." The words landed gently this time, just truth. We talked while Victor played, carefully at first, then more openly. Alex admitted the guilt had eaten at him for years, buried under deadlines and board meetings. Every time I saw a Mother's Day post online, I felt sick. But I told myself you were fine, that you didn't need me anymore. It was easier than facing how badly I'd messed up. I listened without interrupting. When he finished, I spoke quietly. I wasn't fine, Alex. I was surviving, but I never stopped loving you, even when it hurt. He looked down at his hands. I don't deserve a second chance. Maybe not, but I'm giving you one anyway, because that's what family does, when someone's ready to change. Lauren reached over and squeezed my hand. Thank you, Alina, for all of us. The afternoon slipped by in small moments. Victor giggling as we built a block castle, Alex helping me make sandwiches in the kitchen like he used to when he was a teenager, Lauren sharing photos of their life, the good parts, the ordinary joys. When they left, Victor waved bye-bye from the car seat, and Alex lingered on the porch. I meant what I said in mediation, he told me. The apology statement goes live tomorrow. Not everything, some things stay private, but enough to set the record straight. And the money, it's already being wired. Half, like we agreed, plus the shares. I nodded. Use it well. Build something that lasts, and keep coming back. He hugged me, awkward at first, then tighter. I will, Mom, I promise. The door closed behind them, and the house felt different. Not empty anymore. Echoes of laughter lingered in the air. Over the next months, the changes settled in. The money arrived, more than enough to buy a small house near the old bookstore site, one with a yard for when Victor visited. I started a little reading nook in the corner, filled with the kinds of books Victor and I used to love. Alex followed through. The journal piece ran, titled A Son's Reflection, Rebuilding What Was Lost. It didn't name names directly, but the town knew. Comments poured in, some supportive, some skeptical. I didn't read them all. I didn't need outside approval anymore. Visits became routine. Every other weekend, sometimes more. Victor learned to say my name properly, started asking for gamma stories. Alex opened up more, about the pressure of running the business, the fear of failing the legacy his father left. I listened, offered advice when asked, stayed silent when he just needed space. One evening, as the sun set and Victor napped on my couch, Alex and I sat on the porch with tea. He looked at the sky, voice low. I almost lost everything. Not just the deal, the people who matter. You saved me from myself. I shook my head. No, you chose to change. That's what saved you. He smiled faintly. Still, thank you for not letting me walk away that first day, for holding the line. I reached over and patted his hand. Sometimes love has to be tough, but it's still love. The business thrived again, steadier now. Alex slowed the expansion, brought back some of the old charm, cozy reading corners, local author events. He even named the flagship store after Victor, Thompson's Pages. I attended the opening, stood in the back while he spoke to the crowd about family, second chances, and the stories that bind us. When our eyes met, he gave a small nod. I returned it. Life didn't erase the pain. Some nights I still woke up remembering the empty years, the cold shoulders. But the ache had dulled, replaced by something warmer, connection rebuilt brick by brick. And in the quiet moments, when Victor's laughter filled the house, or Alex called just to say goodnight, I felt it. Justice hadn't come in destruction, it came in restoration. In forcing the truth into the light, in refusing to be erased, I'd given us both a chance to start again. Not perfectly, not without scars, but honestly. That's the sweetest revenge of all, living well, together, on your own terms. If you've ever had to fight for your place in someone's life, or watched a broken bond slowly mend, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. What's one small step that started your own healing? Subscribe if stories of quiet triumphs keep you going, and share this with anyone who needs reminding. Sometimes the strongest move is holding your ground until the other person finally sees you. Thank you for staying with me through every twist. Until the next story of justice finding its way.